There's a controversial provision tucked inside the energy bill working its way through the Senate, and it's pitting some natural gas drillers against environmentalists. The bill requires drillers to say what chemicals they're putting in the ground to help break up shale rock and extract natural gas. Well, the issue has hit a nerve along the Marcellus Shale Reserve. This is a deep rock deposit rich in natural gas that runs beneath New York State, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Now, until recently, the shale gas was hard to reach, but technology is changing that. And as Stephanie Dew reports, people in the town of Hickory, Pennsylvania are caught in the middle, hungry for natural gas profits, but worried about the impact of drilling.
Stephanie Hollowich built a house 3 years ago on top of a Marcellus shale field. She didn't know there was already a contract for the mineral rights under her land. From a ridge above her house, you can see gas wells, a compressor station, and wastewater containment site.
There's so many what-ifs in that contract. It doesn't talk about pipelines and compressor stations and processing plants and 24-hour traffic and noise and dust, what people are dealing with every day.
She's worried about the impact it's having on her kids, who aren't allowed to play outside unless the windsock is blowing away from the house. The family buys the water it uses because of fears their well water is contaminated.
We still don't know exactly what we're being exposed to.
The development of shale gas wells is done in stages. First, the lease rights must be secured, then a well is drilled. To efficiently drill in shale, the well is drilled down 1,000 feet and then about a mile horizontally.
After the well is drilled comes the fracking, which involves sending water, sand, and a small amount of chemical solution into the well bore to force the natural gas to the surface.
That fracking process is suspected of contaminating water. Ron Gula had one of the region's first horizontally drilled wells on his 141-acre farm. He claims the drilling company polluted his pond.
I don't know what all they used up here. You got to realize this was the second horizontal done. This was all experimental. We are the guinea pigs. Who knows what they were using up here? I have no idea. We're not privy to that information.
Both Gula and Hollowich are suing Range Resources, which drilled the wells. Range says there's no evidence either property has been contaminated. Also involved in the controversy is the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection. It says Gula hasn't been able to substantiate the claim his pond was contaminated. Colorado Congresswoman Diana DeGette has sponsored the FRAC Act, which would force drillers to disclose the chemicals they use in fracking and comply with federal safe drinking water standards.
We've had a lot of anecdotal evidence about contamination of drinking water around fracking sites. But because the law does not require the disclosure of the components of the fluid, people can't prove that what it's being caused by.
Range Resources says it will release the makeup of the chemicals it uses in fracking. DeGette says self-disclosure can work, but there has to be a standard.
If there's a standard method by which the companies disclose their information, then we're okay with that. But we have to make sure that it's consistent, that it's easily accessible, not just by government regulators, but by the general public and by emergency responders.
Consol Energy is a big player in the Marcellus Shale and uses fracking to release natural gas. COO Nick DeUlius admits companies in his business have driven hard to prove the opportunity to investors.
That rush to drill and prove or demonstrate has resulted in some bumps, with regard to how we deal with the community. We have not put our best foot forward as an industry. That's where we need to tighten things up.
He says the industry needs to be more proactive and that it may need to slow down.
To take a 30 or 40-year look, and if our values are first truly safety and second compliance, then that means we're going to have to slow as it goes to a certain extent to make sure that we're being transparent, everyone knows what the risks are, everyone knows how we're addressing those risks, and people become comfortable with what this opportunity really means in terms of the community.
The community here will have to decide if the risks are worth the rewards. They may get some help from the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, which is beginning a 2-year study of the impact of natural gas drilling. Stephanie Dew, Nightly Business Report, Hickory, Pennsylvania.